speech.
I recognise the honourable member, Phil Twyford.
It's always a bit strange to follow a valedictory speech by the erstwhile Minister of Consumer Affairs. He'll go down in history as the great friend of the wheel-clamping industry, and that's a fantastic political epitaph. Mr. Speaker, as David Shearer said in Wainuiamata on the weekend, we should thank the focus groups for making the Prime Minister aware of major problems facing this country, like youth unemployment and the housing affordability crisis. Otherwise, if it wasn't for market research, if it wasn't for the focus groups, how would the Prime Minister know that there is a housing affordability crisis? Because when you live in a mansion in Parnell, it's probably not immediately obvious to you that there are people living 5 to 6 in an uninsulated skyline garage in places like Henderson and Massey. You wouldn't know when you live in a mansion in Parnell that there are people, dozens of people in West Auckland living in their cars because they have been turfed out of their accommodation and can't find a private rental. You wouldn't know, if you live in a mansion in Parnell, that there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people on the Housing New Zealand waiting lists who are eligible for houses with Housing New Zealand but stand no prospect at all of ever getting a Housing New Zealand house because there are not enough houses. There's a whole generation of young people in Auckland, Mr. Speaker, who are watching the dream of home ownership slip further and further out of grasp. And we know now that the Prime Minister is aware that this is a problem. He's aware of it now, but what is he doing? What is this government doing about the housing affordability crisis? They are blaming the Auckland Council, because apparently the housing affordability crisis, the fact that in Auckland we have some of the most unaffordable housing in the Western world, that apparently, according to this government, is the fault of Auckland Council. And we've seen the unedifying spectacle in the last couple of weeks of the Minister of Finance waging a war of words with the Deputy Mayor of Auckland Council, trying to blame Auckland Council for the fact that we have unaffordable homes. Never mind the fact that we need to be building 10,000 new homes a year in Auckland. We're currently only building about 4,000 homes a year. Well, 5 years ago, when the economy was humming, we were building 10,000 homes every year. There wasn't a shortage. But for some reason, this government thinks that the whole problem of housing affordability in Auckland is caused by the problems with the Resource Management Act, even though 5 years ago we didn't have the acute shortage of affordable housing that we do now. And there is, in this government's response on this issue, a terrible double standard. Only just before Christmas, National blocked Auckland Council's request to make the unitary plan come into effect at the end of this year. And what does the unitary plan do, Auckland Council's new mega amalgamated district plan? Well, it's got a whole lot of provisions that will go a long way towards delivering affordable housing. It changes the rules so that developers can get one resource consent for a whole bulk lot of homes. It makes it easier to mix up different styles, flats, apartments, bungalows, terraces on one lot. It makes it easier for developers to amalgamate sections so they can do residential developments. And most importantly, Auckland Council's unitary plan programs land release over 30 years to guarantee a supply of new land for affordable housing. That is exactly what Bill English is threatening to do by legislating if Auckland Council doesn't step up to the mark. Well, this is absolute hypocrisy from this government. They are stopping Auckland Council from doing the very thing that Bill English is now threatening to intervene if Auckland Council don't do. This government blames the global financial crisis for unemployment. It blames the Christchurch earthquake for slow economic growth. And now it's blaming Auckland Council for a housing crisis that this government won't lift a hammer to solve. Well, I think it's interesting to ask why the government is flailing around blaming everybody else for its problems. The reason, sir, is that it's been caught napping. Labor introduced a policy at the end of last year, sir. David Shearer unveiled it at our party conference, a pledge to build 100,000 affordable homes over the next 10 years. Labor will build the affordable homes. We will intervene in the market, sir. We will intervene to make that market work. We will guarantee a generation of young people in Auckland that they will be able to get into the housing market, that there will be affordable homes built. And what this government doesn't like, and what's got them really rattled and defensive and angry, is that 70%, Simon Bridges, the New Zealand Herald Digipoll says that 70% of people support Labor's policy. That's why this government is on the ropes. That's why they're rattled. That's why they've come to Parliament this term nasty and defensive and attacking every other party in this House, but utterly failing to come up with any kind of practical response that offers a real solution to the housing crisis. They are rattled. They've looked at the polls. Stephen Joyce has said to the Cabinet, look, the polls are against us on this. The public really like Labor's policy. We better start doing something. They are rattled. This issue, sir, I predict that this issue, the housing affordability issue, will be a nail in the coffin of this national government. And the reason is this. This government cannot, will not act to intervene in the housing market. They cannot do it because it's in their DNA. This housing crisis is a result of market failure. The house building and construction industry is currently only delivering about 4,000 new dwellings a year in Auckland. It should be building about 10,000. Very few of those 4,000 new homes are in the affordable range. It's that deficit year on year compounding that is delivering the scarcity that's driving up the prices out of the reach of ordinary people. But only a Labor government, only a Labor-led government will intervene in the market. It's only Labor that believes in active government and hands-on government. National, all they've got to offer, all they bring to the House is they're going to tinker with the RMA. And they've been in government for 4 years. They've brought several RMA reform bills to this House. They've had 4 years. They've done nothing. They've done nothing about changing the RMA to make it easier for affordable homes to be built in our country's largest city. It's only now that Labor's Kiwi Build policy, a pledge to deliver 100,000 affordable homes, has got them rattled that they are now talking about tinkering with the RMA yet again. Housing, sir, is not the only issue that's troubling Aucklanders. It's not the only issue on which the national government is out of step with people in our biggest city. Transport is recognised by almost all Aucklanders as the single biggest problem that the city must confront and solve. Decades of underinvestment in public transport have left the city facing gridlock, and just before Christmas, Auckland Council and government officials produced the Central City Future Access Study, which was commissioned by Auckland Council. It was a direct response to then Transport Minister Stephen Joyce, who asked for more detailed analysis about the case for the construction of the City Rail link. So officials from NZTA and the Ministry of Transport, the Transport Minister's very own officials, mandated by him and his office to do this work, went away and produced an impressive and substantive report on the transport options for stopping gridlock in Auckland's central city. They came back and they recommended that the City Rail link should be built as a matter of priority. They said that by 2041, unless the City Rail link is built, traffic will grind to a halt, well, to walking pace, sir, to 5 kilometres an hour, unless the City Rail link is built. What did Jerry Brownlee, the Minister of Transport, say? He rubbished it, even though he mandated his officials to do much of the work on that project. Because this government is so hostile to public transport, because of their entrenched hostility to Len Brown and the Auckland Council, Jerry Brownlee couldn't help himself but to pour contempt on the work of his own officials in the week before Christmas. And yet, the last 2 opinion surveys have shown that between 63% and 64% of Aucklanders want to see the City Rail link built. This government is out of step with Aucklanders on the two big issues, housing and transport. And it's because of their ideological bias, sir, against government intervention, against public investment. Who else but the National Party would have such a boneheaded idea that you can let the sprawl run and expect that a dysfunctional housing market will deliver affordable homes? Very good. Speaker.